I'm Chris D'Alessandro, practice lead for Lemongrass, specifically on the Azure line of business. I'm joined here by my great leader, Tim Wintrip.
You sure?
Chief of Sales for NORAM. Again, we're going to talk to you about MDO today. I'm going to talk a little bit about what Lemongrass is and what we look like. We're not super well known in the industry, but we are very good at what we do, and those who do know us swear by us. Going to talk about MDO, of course, very deeply. This is not a technical session, so if you want to get a little deeper into the technology, we do have our chief engineer here, and he can take you aside after the call.
Chief Technology Officer. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So as I said before, we are Lemongrass. We only focus on SAP migrations to the cloud. We don't do on-prem. We're not interested in that piece. We focus on the cloud only. Of course, as I said, Microsoft partner. We build technology around this. We come out of an operations space, right? We're a basis company, if you want to think of it that way. We run SAP. We know what it takes to keep an SAP platform online for our customers. And because we're in the cloud, we can see what automation capabilities are there. We're trying to marry those two. So we're trying to sit on the fence of running SAP, running it in the cloud, and then taking SAP, which is your old school mainframe monolith application, which really doesn't want to be in the cloud, and making that a little bit more cloudy. In fact, a lot more cloudy. That's kind of the summary of what we're trying to accomplish in the market.
What you're going to hear today is really us plagiarizing to a certain extent what customers have done for non-SAP applications in the native space and applying it to the SAP space. And that's fundamentally what this minimum downtime operations solution is about. It's using that cloud thinking to focus on, planned downtime is what we're talking about today, but there's a whole bunch of other benefits in terms of quality, reducing overall risk, compliance and auditability. So we'll cover that off. And really a lot of that's come from, we've been, as Chris mentioned, not to repeat, but we've only been focusing on SAP and public cloud. So our thinking, our employees, everybody understands SAP, everybody understands public cloud. And that's a really key tenet where we're different to a lot of other companies in that we have that laser focus on cloud and cloud thinking. Obviously, we've migrated hundreds and hundreds of large enterprises to the cloud. We manage tens of thousands of SAP instances. And over more than a decade, we've learned a lot about managing SAP in the cloud. We've tried things, we've adapted, and what we're hearing about today is really the evolution of our automation and orchestration capabilities, which has been hard learned over more than a decade. So that's the kind of meat that we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah. So Lemongrass is right now a little over 700 people. It's big enough to be global, right? But small enough to be boutique, and our reputation still matters. We don't let projects fail. I think that's what I think is good about our size, right? We have delivery centers around the planet. We got started in EMEA. Our founder, Eamon, is here with us today. Expanded into the US. Majority of our business is in the developed markets. That's where we focus. We do have some delivery overseas, of course, but we are mostly operating with you in market. The vast majority of what we do is in market because we're about premium and quality and taking you on that journey. And that's not an easy journey. You just can't do that overseas super well, which is what a lot of the large GSIs are doing today. So we're much more focused on customer outcomes, we think, than our competitors. We're certainly more focused on being technology forward with the cloud on SAP than our competitors are. All right, so why are we here, right? Unplanned downtime has been solved for a long time. You guys have all been doing clustering in your environments. You have redundant hardware, whether it's a mainframe or something else. Everyone's been focused on it, right? No one's dealing with planned downtime as far as we can tell. We don't see any competitors in this space right now. The pain points we hear from our customers are, I have to patch once a month. I have to go down once a quarter. I'm going down for things like security patching. I'm going down for things that I don't care about. I don't want to do a database upgrade. I have to do a database upgrade. I have to go to the business and ask for that. And then when the business comes to me and asks for new functionality that requires an SAP upgrade, this is my 5th, 10th, 15th outage of the year, and they don't like that conversation. The planning around it is difficult. I'm working on the weekends. My teams are exhausted, just trying to work around what the business can even offer us in the first place. Those negotiations, those conversations sometimes take a quarter to even iron out when we can do it, right? We're solving for that problem, right?
And the other thing is, when I look at some of the more complex upgrades that clients do, it's like open heart surgery. They're taking the system that's running, they bring it down, and they start changing layers of it. And often multiple teams have to be involved and hand off between each other and pass the ball. I mean, it's often humans on a keyboard doing things. That is prone to error. And what as much as we're eliminating the planned downtime, we're guaranteeing the successful outcome of that activity, that operational activity, which is again something which is different. We're focusing more on the cost of planned downtime here, but the ability for a planned change to turn into an unplanned event is real. I used to work for a big financial services firm, and our head of operations, whenever we had an issue, said, "What was the last change that was rolled out on this platform? When do we? Let's look at the change history here, because someone changed something, and it's the number one cause of issues. So planned can very quickly become unplanned, unscheduled, which again, our approach mitigates that." Sorry, Chris.
No,
I can't help myself.
Absolutely. So we were looking for numbers, right? Because we know this is a real problem in our clients. And there's not a lot of good statistics out there, I'll be honest with you. I've searched. This is one set of numbers that I found, $7,000 a minute. That's about $500,000 an hour from Forrester. So this is a general IT outage for this data. I can't find anything specific in SAP. I can't wait until we start this conversation with the likes of Forrester and whatnot, with what we're doing, to start getting these kinds of measurements from the SAP field, because we see a lot higher numbers than this. So what does MDO do? What use cases do we address? Patching OS, patching database, upgrading the database. We also take care of kernel changes in SAP. So all of those kind of routine maintenance type of options when it comes to patching that you would do in a basis environment. We can also scale. So maybe it's Thanksgiving and your retail operations are gonna kick up or kick down, and you need to scale your operations online. You don't want to take the outage. Our automation also makes that quite simple to do in an online way without a lot of planning, right? We just need to know what your target is. Our automation knows how to build that, builds it, does a live kickover of your users, scale up, scale down, scale out. Cloning and refresh. This is a use case that we have some customers that have issues with as far as downtime. Some don't, but it's another use case. Of course, we're migrators. We know how to build SAP systems. We can, of course, clone and refresh your systems online extremely fast. Biggest use case for that is large environments where a lot of development projects are going on, a lot of sandboxing. You want to use those systems very fast with the latest data. Maybe you want to scale that every single day. Our automation can give you a copy of production every single day. And then compliance. Tim was alluding to this earlier, right? With our immutable infrastructure, with the things that we're doing around building this, it can eliminate issues around ransomware because you're not pulling that technical debt forward. You're not pulling human error into your system. You don't have to trust that your folks are going to do this right, because it's a repeatable piece of code that we've run 100 times in your environment already. You know how it's going to come out on the back end before you push the button.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the times we present this approach, this automation framework, and the clients are the ones thinking about the use case. So a large insurance firm, their challenge was they have to be able to prove from a compliance perspective that they have to be able to build the environments very frequently, like from complete scratch. And if they don't, they have to fill in a lot of paperwork from their compliance and audit team. So for them, the ability, and that was really around mitigating ransomware, right? So the ability for them to be able to build an environment clean using, base images from operating system, SAP, means the chances of ransomware infiltrating that, if you're building it frequently, is significantly reduced. And it just saved the technology team a very significant burden from kind of answering the questions for the compliance and security folks. So there's multiple reasons to do this. We're picking on planned downtime as the key one, but a lot of clients are interpreting, I can solve this problem. I don't need a training environment because I've got a new initiative coming up. I can use this technology to spin up a new training platform.
So we have a customer in the room that asked, I don't just refresh my S4, my ECC environment. I refresh everything that goes on around that for my testing regression cycle once every 3 weeks. How does this tool handle that?
No. So we're releasing the functionality in patterns, effectively. So, we focused on S4, we focused on ECC, we have, and as we work with clients like yourself, we would then look at those additional components. There's nothing really stopping this largely. I mean, there are some technical challenges. For instance, if you have, let's just say, an Oracle database, for want of a better term, failing over to that without any outage at all, there would have to be a QS of the database, effectively. But what we're doing is we're solving it pattern by pattern. So we've got half a dozen patterns done, and as this is adopted by clients, we look at their patterns and we start to build them. So EWM is a common one. We're seeing requests for that. We're working on that with another client at the moment, for instance. So we'd work with you guys, the customers, and then to start solving it. It wouldn't, we're not claiming to have it fixed overnight. This is a new offering from us. But as we mature and we work with the client, we will then package more and more of their components, including potentially non-SAP items. Because ultimately what we're doing here is state management. So if we can deploy and understand the state of the application using our orchestration model, which is very rich and allows us to tailor it for a given client, as long as we can get that configuration state information into our object model, we can look at this. There's no reason. The only thing we have to be careful of is guaranteeing zero downtime. But it could be, instead of like patching an Oracle system, which takes, I don't know, let's say 8 hours, that could be a few minutes to do the cut over. Whereas HANA, at the moment, that would be zero, right? Based on the way the HSR works, and HANA works.
Great question. So let's get interactive a little bit. I have a few customers in the room here. I showed the $7,000 a minute number, half million an hour. Right? We talked a little bit about the use cases, what's causing that. Does that number ring true to you? Does that sound low? Does it sound high? Just raise your hand if you think that number's low. I think it's low. Yeah. All right. So we're talking to our customers. We're doing the business case around this. This is one large telecommunications customer that we have. We looked back a year, quarter by quarter. What are their planned downtimes? What are they doing with the business today? Q1. Got 8 hours, kernel upgrade, HANA revision upgrade, had to get done. 15 hours in Q2, OS, app servers, need to get patched. Q3, SAP upgrade occurred, 48 hours, that was a big one. Q4, go back to the business again, 4th outage of the year for more OS patching and DBs. All right, so this is typical customer. A lot of customers are running quarterly cycles like this. We asked them for their number internally, sat down with them, looked at it, thought about it, came up with a number of $33 million a year. That's what 81 hours of outage cost their business to be down. And that's just hard cost, right? That's not thinking about the time to plan for those 8 hours to be efficient, right? The time to bring those IT personnel in on the weekend and make that happen around the business to negotiate that downtime. All the pieces that you have to do because you're limited to this one window and you have to make it right and you have to make it successful. 33 million. MDO, we can eliminate 3 of those 4 quarters. Take them all the way down to 0, all right? Couldn't take the big pole in the tent on this one for SAP release upgrades, major release upgrades. We're not there yet. I'm working on it. Well out in our horizon for sure. But we can take care of the rest of that for that company. So now we have to go to the business one time for the year, right? Probably for something the business wants in the first place, which is why we're doing the SAP release. But I don't have to go for the technical patching. I don't have to go for the kernel updates that are solving incidents or whatever it is that we're dealing with. To initiate that kind of a change. That customer, very clear $13 million savings in hard costs for downtime for the business. It's a really easy business case that this makes sense to put a little bit of effort into and operate. Oh, by the way, because it's easier, I can do it more often. I don't have to go to the business for that outage, at least not like I did in the past. So if I need to patch a little bit more often, stay a little bit more current to deal with something, I don't have to push it out 3 months, 6 months, whatever that is. But very real savings, very easy business case. And again, I think we're the only people that are solving for this. I've been in the basis shoes. I've been in the CIO's shoes of needing this downtime. It's a constant battle. And I think this is a game changer, to be able to say I don't have to ask the business for downtime throughout the year multiple times. So I talked about the lag. The average behind that we are on security patches is 6 months for critical updates in IT because of the difficulty of getting that time to go down. 6 months of security patch lag opens your company up to risk. Right? So you have on the one side the business saying we can't shut down. On the other side, you have the CSO saying we need to shut down. We need to patch this. We have financial risk. We have IT risk by not being patched. And that's just the critical updates. You push out past critical and go to high, medium, low. The lag time's a lot larger. So again, we can move this up. Right? We can bring this almost into the same week. Patch comes out. You need to use MDO on a Wednesday. Take care of a problem because you consider it that important. We can do that and not disrupt the business in any significant way, right? So I went to another customer, one that cares about security patching very much. They're going down once a month because they need to stay up to date, right? So they're not that first customer that pushes it out to quarterly, and that's kind of how they decided to live with the problem of asking for downtime. This company said, no, we are going to prioritize this. We're going to force our business down once per month. Take 8 hours, whatever security patches they need, get it put in place. Any other maintenance they can fit in that window, they put in place. So 12 times a year, there's 12 8s on this wheel, 12 times a year, they're shutting down to stay up to date. $39 million they're spending. That's how much they consider security to be an issue for them, that they think this is the right way to go about it. Spend that money, stay up to date, protect our business from any kind of threat. Planned downtime with MDO can knock it to 0. That has to make your life better, right? If I'm the CIO and I was taking a monthly window and I no longer have to ask for that, when it comes around time that I need the upgrade, when I need 2 days on a weekend to do something major, I have a lot more flexibility with the business to get that time to do that project right. My teams, instead of planning for the 8 hours every month to be efficient and working the weekends, can focus on the big project once a year.
This gets more challenging as well with S4. So you see clients consolidating. Like we have a number of global clients and they're consolidating multiple business lines, geographies, geos into one central instance. So, I was working with a client and they made an acquisition in Israel, which meant that they lost their Sunday, for instance, to be able to do upgrade work. That was now a day which was just not up for grabs. So the ability to solve these challenges as you have more eggs in one basket, so to speak, becomes more taxing, right? Because you've got to then herd more cats in terms of agreeing outage windows. So I think an S4 consolidation also sharpens the focus of this somewhat, I think.
So I think the hard part for most customers is understanding what it costs them in the first place for IT downtime. The political costs, the animosity around the downtime, that tends to be well known, especially with the unplanned, right? You know who gets affected. But getting to a place where you're measuring this and understanding your own costs, that takes a little bit of effort. That's something that we will do with you. We'll be happy to sit down, tell you how we model it with our customers, help you get a handle on it, hard costs and soft costs. You're gonna well.
And this being candid, it may be different for some customers. Like, so you may be in a planned downtime, you can become prescriptive and precise enough. You can print out all the shipping items. You can get prepared ahead of the downtime so that your warehouses continue. However, if something goes wrong, it's a mess. And those exercises are very taxing on all parts of the business. So really, it's maybe the cost isn't this, but there will be a cost and there will be a disruption and there will be a risk factor. So it's really a question of building what the right case is for the given client. This is an easy way to kind of look at it, but there's some nuances here.
Okay. Again, this customer, $40 million in savings. then I'm going to kick to just one slide on how it works. This is not a technical presentation by any means. But I'm going to ask Tim to talk you through the high-level technology a little bit of how we do this switch over. If you want to go deeper, again, we have our CTO here in the room.
Yes, I mean, it's pretty. I mean, as I said, this is us borrowing heavily from, Netflix, online banking applications, anything that always needs to be switched on. So really, it's taking the immutable concept, right? And what we're really doing here is we're looking at SAP deployment and infrastructure as code. So we're applying software practices to deployment. End of story. So you want to make a change to an environment that's running. You want to upgrade something in it. You don't go into that environment and log in and change it. You build new and you do that through source control, right? And this is where our solution works. You build new and you dispose of the old. So I think Eamon says he's got a good line, which is, it might be quite relevant to you, Frank, actually. He talks about people treat servers as pets. You take the pet, you have to look after it, you have to keep it running, you have to give it its medication, and you pet it, and it's working, and you give it some love. Whereas with cattle, it sounds. I hope we didn't record this now. It sounds bad. with cattle, you take it off to the abattoir, and you kill it, and you eat it, and you get a new one, right? This is very much taking that kind of approach to your infrastructure. So, and it's a change of thinking. I mean, that's the biggest barrier we see. Is customers understanding how this is going to affect their team and the fact the way they've always done things. So really what we're doing is, if you want to build a new, you want to do an upgrade, we're going to build you a brand new platform using automation, which will be built a tried and tested approach, which meets your best practices. That build will be done with full, using state management, so there'll be detailed, auditability for it. It will be built clean and perhaps at the next level of the platform that you're looking to get to. Mm-hmm. In parallel to that, we will then replicate data items, which can be done way in advance, can be done, depending on what you need. We can start replicating and get that environment built. And then what you'd suggest, like we do with other applications out there, what Amazon does and Microsoft does and Netflix does with online apps, is you're going to maybe do some rudimentary smoke testing of that environment. Does it look good? Is it clean? Is there anything that's going to cause us heartburn? It's good. And then what you do is you do a cutover, right? And you just fail over. You're back in business, right? And then you stop the original and you kill it. Maybe you keep it for a few days, right? Just in the background. But that's what you do. Or some clients are saying to us, hey, well, maybe we'll spin up and we'll keep that one there, for a certain number of hours to better fall back to it if something horrendous goes wrong. But that's really conservatism from the old way of thinking, to be honest with you. But that's it. It's very simple. Now we're using, unlike other companies or other approaches, we've decided to work very closely with Microsoft. We're using open standards, so you'll see our platform leverages Terraform, leverages Ansible, it leverages Azure DevOps to build those pipelines, which are all very common in most of our customers. Most customers have those things, but they don't have them for SAP, right? So what we're doing is, I always think of it as like a Venn diagram. You have the SAP team and you have the cloud team, and the two circles are very distinct right now. What we're doing is we're overlapping and we're bringing those two worlds together. And basically that's it. So this is a very simple process. It's build it, migrate, cut over, dispose, basically. Yeah. That's it. I mean, it's that simple. And this is something that we can demonstrate and show. And this, allows you to start looking at how you run your operations differently. But it does take some change of thinking, because a lot of customers, they've been programmed, especially in SAP, they've been programmed for the last 20, 30 years to think about that platform as a pet. So this is a change of thinking, and potentially a change of organization is required around this. So that's at a high level. And if you want to get into details around Terraform and Ansible and code, then you've got Eamon and Jake there who can knock you out.
Yeah. So our tagline. Sorry. Go ahead.
Do you have customers running that today, or is this still sort of?
We do. We have a couple of early customers running it who actually helped us build it, right? So this was customer driven. We had some of these capabilities. It was the customers that are going, well, we could do this, this, and this. We're like, oh, that's a good idea. Let's put that on our roadmap. So yes, we do. And we got we can make that a referenceable customer as well in terms of talking about their journey with us.
So our tagline is, we put the cloud in SAP, right? And I was saying early on, this is a game changer, I think. That's what we're doing. We're taking the monolith that is SAP, a old mainframe application that doesn't have cloud features in it from a technology point of view, at least. We do the orchestration around it, and we solve for these use cases. You can largely eliminate planned downtime in your organization with Lemongrass's MDO. That's the keynote I want you to take away from this. I want you to take a look at your own planned downtime. I want you to see how much that hurts, see if it's worth talking to us. I think it is. I think it's going to be a gold standard in operations for SAP in the next couple of years as we roll this out and mature the product. I just know I've never had any customers of any size that don't have this issue and wouldn't love to solve it.
And we're joint engineering this with Microsoft. So you hear about Microsoft bringing out some cool technology, where our principle is not to reinvent everything. So 10 years ago, there was no real automation for this stuff at all in the cloud, so we had to write a lot of proprietary. Now the hyperscalers, and particularly Microsoft, are publishing great content that we consume as part of this. So it means we can go faster and we can leverage a much bigger partnership. So I mean, the key thing is, it's definitely not a here's the product, off you go. It's a consultative discussion, like actually you mentioned, Frank, around your roadmap of what you want to get to. Us understanding that, building a business case with you, and what the journey looks like and the steps is typically what we want to do. So that's kind of our call to action. So anyone here, anyone watching, that's what we're trying to do, and work with you to build a business case around how to get to this end state. Okay. So I think that's it. I think we're on time, right?
That's it. Thank you very much for coming. We appreciate it, and we hope to speak to you afterwards.
That was good.
Thank you.
We're on time. Amazing.